Once again, here's your host, Dr. Judy Saalinger.
Hello, welcome back to Lasting Recovery. I'm Dr. Judy Saalinger, licensed marriage, family therapist, and certified addiction specialist, also clinical director of Lasting Recovery, San Diego's premier holistic outpatient alcohol and drug treatment program. And I've been working with addictions for more than 25 years, and we hope to give you some hope and help you and your families get the tools you need to reclaim your lives. Lasting Recovery is nationally accredited by CARF, the Commission on Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities. We're holistic, individualized treatment for substance use. We offer family education groups for you families. We offer specialized programs for women's only, teen after-school program, a co-ed evening program, and we've got a great team. We've got some wonderful folks. I'm just so pleased to have working with us. We have an award-winning psychiatrist, named one of the top 3 psychiatrists in San Diego by his peers, and an addiction medicine specialist with over 43 years of experience working with people who suffer from substance use disorders. I'm with you every Monday morning from 9 to 10 here on KCEO, and we're talking about help for families of substance users. And I'm going to give you the number for Lasting Recovery. You can call us at 858-453-4315. And if a website is easier for you to remember, it's www.lastingrecovery.com. Now, I want to tell you why I do this program and why I do the work that I do. Because I realize that alcoholism and drug dependence are America's #1 health problem. The cost and consequences of alcoholism and drug dependencies place an enormous burden on American society, and you sitting there that you're driving in your car today, it's a problem in your life. It's a problem in your family. It's a problem in the families of the ones you're sitting there thinking about if you're at home. The addiction, it strains the healthcare system, hurts the economy, and hurts family life, and threatens public safety. Substance abuse, it crosses every societal boundary. It doesn't matter whether you're male, female, rich, poor, educated, uneducated, every ethnic group. I've worked with people from all over the world, every ethnic group, every different country, well, maybe not all of them, but a large portion. And I find that there's people who have substance abuse problems all throughout the world. So scientific documentation defines alcohol and drug dependence as a disease that has roots in the genetic susceptibility and personal behavior. So when we look at that, we talk about, addiction being an intergenerational disorder. So let me tell you this kind of the scope of the problem that we have with alcohol and drug dependence. That, first of all, your family's not alone. You are not alone. That you want to know how many people you're surrounded by? Well, each year, there are about 18 million Americans who have alcohol problems. 18 million. And about 5 or 6 million Americans have drug problems. So you think you're alone? Even though maybe you've been sitting there, maybe you're feeling sad, maybe you're disappointed in your life, maybe you're drinking, maybe you've taken a handful of pills this morning. But I want you to know that even though you're isolated, they're doing that, you are not alone. More than half of adults have a family history of alcoholism or problem drinking. Maybe you're sitting there worried about a family member that has an alcohol problem. Again, you're not alone. And about 9 million children live with a parent dependent on alcohol or illicit drugs. And what does this do? What does this cause? This causes sadness, shame, guilt, remorse, disappointment, hurt feelings, anger, family feuds. It causes fights. 1/4 of all emergency room admissions, 1/3 of all suicides, and more than 1/2 of all homicides are related to alcohol or drug addiction through domestic violence. Heavy drinking contributes to illnesses in the top 3 causes of death: heart disease, cancer, and stroke. Now, those are a lot of statistics. How does that apply to you? How's your health? How's the health of your family members? Well, today we're talking about how you can get help from substance abuse for yourself, for your family member. And I want to tell you, I'm with Lasting Recovery. I'm the clinical director, and I've been working with families for nearly 30 years, of families who have substance abuse problems. And one thing that every substance abuser in treatment has ever said to me, that was helpful to get them into treatment was when a family member surrendered. You see, if you're a family member sitting in that car or at home, you're stuck. You're in a power struggle. You're trying to fight a disease that you can't see. You only experience it through the person who has it. You're sort of like a caboose on the back of a runaway train. You know, you're trying to control it, and the truth is that you're ready to crash it any moment in time. You absolutely have no power to control it. So what happens is that in trying to control it, that's when you nag, you fight, you feel helpless. And so when we're talking about surrendering, what we're talking about is letting go. We're talking about recognizing that there's nothing that you can do to change this, but you've got to take care of yourself. You've got to be able to ask yourself, what do I need? As you're sitting there driving this morning, what do you need to do to take care of yourself? Maybe someone told you about an Al-Anon meeting. Maybe someone told you that maybe you just need to go, take a day off from work. Go play a little bit. Maybe you've been taking on way too many responsibilities for that person in your family that isn't working because of their alcohol or drug addiction. And maybe you're just putting yourself on overload because you feel overly responsible. And maybe that's coming out in your work. Maybe you feel you can be crabby at work because it's like, what difference does it make? Or maybe it's playing out in your work and you're taking responsibility for everything there too. Remember that if things aren't going smoothly for you, you're stuck. You can get stuck in this power struggle and you can't win. So what we want to do is to be able to let you know that we can help you get unstuck. We're here at Lasting Recovery. We have help for families of substance abusers. And if you have any questions, you can give us a call at our office at 858-453-4315, or you can contact us via our website at lastingrecovery.com. Real easy to remember. Again, our phone number is 858-453-4315. And today I have with me Ed Lacey, and Ed is an international addiction specialist, and he's here to help us today to talk about families and what you can do. Ed, thank you so much for joining me.
Judy, it's a real pleasure to be here, and I think the theme today is one that people really don't want to talk about. I think there's almost a theme that's worse than the alcoholic or the addict, and that's what the family member's feeling or the loved one is feeling, and that's that codependency. And I believe that is just as powerful as on our healthcare system and our emotional system as much as the alcohol and the drugs are. And I really enjoy the fact that you've been able to and willing to bring this to the forefront and so that the listeners can feel that there's. You mentioned earlier about the absence of the spirit.
Yes.
And it was only one definition you used, but for me it's like it's the most impactful when I'm working with families and even in large groups. It's it's that void on the inside, and the loved one is feeling depressed and very sad and anxious and angry and jealous and because that other person whom they've associated their spirit with is out of control and they're trying to control it. And yet if they feel that if they surrender, then they lose.
Yes. Well, that's the struggle right there, is if I surrender, I lose. I've given in to it. I'm going to lose myself. Mm-hmm. So they're really trying to take hold of themselves when in truth, they don't know how to do it because they're so externally fixated. Mm-hmm. I will often talk to families about this external locus of control. So in other words, the person who has the substance abuse problem is addicted to the substances. It's outside of themselves to make themselves feel better from the inside. Mm-hmm. And then the family members get attached to the person like that caboose. They have no control over it. But if that other person would just change, then they will feel better.
Right.
That becomes their drug.
And in many cases, let's say that relationship ends, whether it's just a boyfriend or girlfriend, and they have a dynamic, they will go out and find another one.
Yes.
Tell us what's that about, you think?
Well, that's really about the wound. It's about this intergenerational wound that we carry. And part of that is that we've been patterned. We've been patterned in our thinking and in our boundaries and in our emotional reactions to respond to certain things and to be drawn actually to sort of the sensitivity of the alcoholic. But yet we kind can I say, we overreact, and we try to control and maybe see it in our families where families members do certain things. I know that a couple that I work with that just recently had gotten some help is that she shut down when there was a family argument going on, and that's what she did in her family, was that she shut down because she felt so helpless. So when we talk about this stress response that people have, they either fight or they run out of the house or they freeze. And sometimes what happens with people is that they will freeze in this helpless state, and those patternings are so powerful that they will then get out and find somebody else who fits that pattern.
Exactly.
Until they get some help.
I think that's an important part, is that I have a friend, Herb Kagan, up in the Los Angeles area, talks about, I couldn't see that I couldn't see, and I didn't know that I didn't know.
Yes.
And for many of those people to let go of that kind of, one is to be aware of it.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I think what you brought up this morning, I think it might be helpful even to go back and talk some about some of the different dynamics that a codependent, I mean, listening to the word codependent, which is dependent on another person's being to alter my emotional state, to let me feel more secure. That they get involved in these relationships, they find another one, and until some time as we can identify with that and accept it, there probably won't be change.
Yes, that is so true, because we've learned to communicate, for example, through some fighting and arguing, wanting to be right, or fighting in a way of being passive-aggressive and doing silent treatment.
You mentioned control, excessive controlling or something like that a few
Yes.
seconds ago. Tell me more about what's the motive behind that trying to control that other person?
Well, the codependent gets into a form of illusion as well, because they are disappointed with the life they're living, with the interactions with the person who has a substance abuse problem, who's under the influence. So they're in illusion. They're not being real. And so the codependent develops thinking about if only. If only he were different, if only things would change, then I would be okay. And so that the reaction of the codependent is to live in some sort of illusion, because then there's the whole family system gets into this part of denial about thinking that it must be okay, because we try to normalize our behavior.
So this illusion
Yes.
is more like, I want to try to create this happy environment or this safe environment that I believe in my mind is where I need to be okay? Something like that?
Yes. It's part of denial. You see, as the alcoholic is drinking or doing the drugs, they're confused, okay, because they're wondering, why am I taking so many pills when, it's like the doctor only gave me, he gave me, one a day for 30 days, and I've taken them all in 3 days, or I drank this whole bottle of vodka. Why did I do that? And so they're confused because, the addiction, the compulsion that goes on with them in terms of drinking, they begin denying it. So when the wife or husband or parent says to the person, why did you do that? They don't know. They're confused because this disease process is going on. And so they make up an excuse. They rationalize it. They deny it. I'm not drinking, because they're confused. Well, how would they know that I'm drinking? Did they see me drink it? No, I was doing it in secret. But how do they know? Because they don't realize how they appear to other people. So you have this denial and minimization, avoidance going on with the alcoholic. The codependent then comes in, and they have been rebuffed enough times by this, don't talk to me, I'm not under the influence, and they begin questioning their reality. It's like, what's real? I'm not even sure. So then they start making up excuses and saying, well, it must be okay. So they have to show to the community, to the other family members, or to work, or to the family, or the friends, the social network, that everything's okay. So they try to put on this very strong front about, isn't life great? Everything's perfect. And so they'll extol the benefits of their family and all the successes, through, kind of praising, and all what they want to do is talk about how good the family's doing, when in truth they have a lot of inner shame and a lot of guilt, because that's not really what's going on inside in the dynamics.
It sounds like you're describing an alcoholic or an addict, but without the substance.
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
Well, they're looking at, again, a distorted reality. They're living in illusion.
Same thing as the addict alcoholic.
Yes.
Okay.
And they actually have very similar medical problems.
Okay. Okay. So it
and-
affects in the physiological patterns of the body.
Yes.
And the mental state also.
The mental state having to do with stress. And so when this family then comes into treatment, what we try to do is to help them to undo their stressors.
Well, let me come back one thing. This is
Okay.
really interesting because I
Yes.
think people don't understand the dynamic of this codependency.
Yes.
Let's say, for example, that the he or she addict out there quits drinking. So
Yes.
what does the codependent do then?
Well, unless they do something different, the person will relapse because the power of the family system to take them back into the active alcoholism is so strong. It's actually a death process. It's a systemic kind of say approach that really borders on death, and it's a disease process, which is death process. And so the family system gets stuck in that. And if one person gets up and they get out of that by getting sober, if the other family members don't make that shift as well, going up again, raising up above the line, the power of that system, because it is a death process, will pull them back underneath the line again, and the whole family will relapse. So we treat the entire family. We want to get everybody above the line and into the solution.
That's an exciting point you brought up, an
Yes.
exciting thing to come back to when we come back.
Okay, thank you. Right.